Salam, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Adab, and good day to all of you around the world. My guest today is Matthew Pohlman. If you've ever tried to understand what it takes to structure $1 billion hotel deal across continents, or wondered how people build global careers that are both technical and personal, you are in the right place.
I think there is a sense in America and growing up in the 70s and 80s of the American experiment is, broadly speaking, working. Had the good fortune of knowing I had a job so long as I fulfilled my requirements that final year of studies. I would take and sit the bar and join Goodwin in the fall. You know, some of the best litigators that I have been around are also some of the least aggressive people.
India is an ascending economy, right? We are at about 3,000 per capita. More importantly, $4 trillion economy, give or take. For the next 10 years, right up till 47, India has a very definitive path. In Hindi, our Prime Minister has mentioned it often and time and again that it needs to be, it's called Viksit Bharat. We are independent, we are integrated into that one world, and we are self-sufficient.
But airlift in and out of India and around India is improving.
You know, countries like India, specifically, we can shut down.
Yeah.
We can put our expenses down. We are used to it, right? So if you find the tariffs are too high, we will go down.
Yeah.
We say, okay, we can't afford it today, right? Let me compromise on my life.
Yeah.
And we've done it all the time.
Yeah.
Centuries.
Yeah.
US is not ready for it.
No.
This episode is about capital, is about law, is about contracts, is about ethics. But more importantly, it's about endurance, it's about trust, and it's about curiosity to shape how we grow up and how we choose to live our lives. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
No, it's absolutely my honor, right? Eventually, when people get to know the backstory of how I kind of got you over here is very interesting. I think the interlude started about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? And I just cold emailed you, and there you were. I think you were in Dubai at that point in time, traveling.
Yes, exactly right.
And I poured my vulnerabilities in front of you, and I said, if I have to become truly world-class, if you recall that conversation, then I need to have truly world-class people coming over here and talking to the industry, talking to the students, talking to the faculty members, and influencing a larger global, I would say, conversation. Sometimes we are stuck in our own silos, solving our own problem, but having, I would say, another dimension view would really kind of help. And lo and behold, 3 months later, you're here. I really, really appreciate your time.
I couldn't be more excited to be here, Kunal. And from that very conversation, I'm sure I got more out of it than you did. The passion, the commitment you are bringing to the work that you're doing here jumped off the screen, because I think we were on Teams at that point.
Yeah. I was just reflecting on your glory because you were so kind. And my first question to you, I wanted to ask you this, and completely unscripted, is how could you be also successful and also kind and beautiful at the same time?
That's kind of you to say. I don't know that I have a very succinct answer, because I'll let you be the judge if that's true or not. But I tell you, I try to walk through life with 2 feet on the ground, with a sense of purpose and hard work, and see where that goes. But try to do it in a way that's fused with a greater sense of purpose and respect for the people I come into contact with.
And this element of purpose, was it always there within you? Right from an early age?
I think that I was probably more tilted towards the serious side of life. There's probably a number of reasons why that is. was quite competitive growing up, and the outlets for that competitive nature became sport. So that was an arena that I guess I found comfort in. Yeah.
Pretty much, we were born in the same era, right, of the 70s, right? I was born here in India, in Mumbai. You were in the US at that point in time. Take us back to the fact, how was it in the 70s and the 80s? At that point in time, India was a very closed economy. So the only element of, I would say, exposure we had was either through the music or perhaps through the movies and maybe a couple of books, right? But how was it in the 70s and the 80s in the US? Because by the time you came into your 90s, you were in your 20s. Same like me. How did 70s and 80s shape you as a person?
I think there is a sense in America and growing up in the 70s and 80s of the American experiment is, broadly speaking, working. There's a sense of possible that comes through in America, and a sense of, if you put your mind to something, there's no ceiling. And I think coming up at that time, despite challenges, despite uncertainties about which way life was going to take me, there was this overarching sense of the possible that the American culture seems to reinforce. And I think I embrace that in terms of thinking, I don't know, again, what the outcome's going to be, but there's nobody telling me something can't happen. Can I give you an anecdote about that? When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I was convinced I had a future in the National Basketball Association.
Got it.
And I think a place like America allows a kid to dream like that. And I would play that out at the ball field, on the court, and there was a sense, yeah, why not me?
True.
And
Matthew, tell me, is it in the air? Is it a silent aspect, or is it reinforced through conversations, family conversations, peer conversations, school conversations, university conversations that go out and achieve?
yeah,
Right?
yeah, I
Don't think of the outcome. Just think of
putting the time in.
Yeah.
So maybe it was coaches, maybe it was some teachers that instilled in you a sense of the possible. And they weren't talking about limitations. They weren't putting a cap. They were saying, go and explore and see how it unfolds.
And what if you feel not successful at that? How is the reaction to that?
At least in my experience, one pivots. But somehow there was lessons in that journey to getting to the point before the door closed. Obviously, I didn't make a career in the NBA. But I think some of the ambition around that could be channeled in new and different directions, notwithstanding that mission wasn't accomplished.
So when you look 50 years hence from the 70s, and, in the opening aspect, I meant what I said, when I read about you, when I speak to you, this whole aspect of grit, this whole aspect of perseverance, is it rooted from your childhood? Is there an element of who you are today is some of every decade that you have become today, who you are?
I think so. I can't tell you that I have all of that ironed out and worked out, but I have flashpoints of moments kind of in each decade that were formative, that were shaping me. And at times it did point to a sense of resilience, of keep on keeping on. And so in the face of a setback, it wasn't pack up your bags and turn away from it, but rather, sort of turn into it. And the older I get, the more I think I appreciate that sense of there's a way through this and keep going.
Sorry, I just go back to your childhood, Matthew, and only if you're willing to talk about it. How was it growing up? We spoke about it offline. Your mother had passed at a very early age, right? And you were raised by a dad. In my case, it was the entirely opposite. Although he hadn't passed, he had abandoned us.
Okay.
And I was raised by a single mom who was not working in a beautiful city of Bombay.
Yeah.
But without any, I would say, social norms or without any social indicators. We didn't have any influence per se. So it was a very rough childhood, but a beautiful childhood. For me, it was a beautiful childhood. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. How does it feel? I'm just trying to draw a parallel that, as I said, we are converging in 2025.
Yeah.
You are who you are. I am who I am, right? And how have our influences, and a little later we'll talk about Jodi and her influence in your life.
Yeah. Well, if you go back, so I was probably 7-ish. Parents split up. I'm one of 4. For various reasons, custody ends up with my dad, living in Southern California. I have a dad who's very ambitious, hardworking, achieving some really interesting things in the banking sector. And he was stretched. You can imagine a single father raising 4 kids in the 70s and 80s is a big task.
Yeah.
And hats off to him for all that he navigated to provide and to create, environments for us to succeed.
And did you do it single-handedly?
He had support in different ways that took the edges off. I think there was a reason that I was in so many different sports. It was a way to fill the time after school. So spending a lot of time playing football, basketball, baseball, golf, tennis, whatever it would be to fill the time and put me into environments where I was getting some direction from others. Those were quite formative years.
And pretty much in your high school, you met Jodi as well, your high school sweetheart who you married, and now married over 30 years. Talk to us a little about Jodi.
Yeah, so Jodi and I...
is Jodi, is Jodi.
That's very kind of you. This is sensitive for her, so thank you for clarifying that. So yeah, we started dating, I should say, at 16 in high school. So yes, high school sweethearts. And Jodi's the brains of the couple. And so part of that phase of our relationship was me having to hustle in the classroom to keep up with Jodi. And there was almost what I'd say a healthy competitiveness between the two of us. And we both went to the same university, and then shortly after graduating university, we got married.
And in your case, did your father pay for the university, or was it self-funded, or how was that funded?
The first phase, that is my undergraduate studies, was paid for by my dad. He supported me through the first, call it 3 years of my university. And then it flipped my 4th year of university, and then my graduate studies were on my nickel, so to speak.
And what did you major in at that point in time?
So I was an economics undergrad.
Got it.
I was an economics undergrad.
So where did this aspect of the law kind of kick in? This whole aspect that you're here today.
Yeah.
If you trace back, where did that journey start?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you it was planned out for me from a young age, but in truth, it wasn't. I was approaching graduation from university and asking probably a question a lot of 21, 22-year-olds ask is sort of what's next? I had some great professors that were encouraging me to pursue a master's degree in economics. But the way that discipline is going and the way it's moving from a quantitative perspective, that really wasn't a journey I thought, I was cut out for necessarily, and one I didn't see a real future in. So it required me to think, well, I have to do something. And maybe at some level, law school was putting off that judgment for at least another 3 years.
Got it.
So I started the process of applying and eventually found myself getting admitted to a few schools.
And the system prevailing at that point in time, you could be a graduate in economics, an undergraduate in economics, but eventually you could pursue law as an option, part of your graduate studies.
Yeah.
Have I understood this correctly?
Yeah, it's interesting. In the U.S., the system is for law, a law path is you get your undergraduate degree in anything: history, English, economics, computer science. And if you choose, you go for the professional degree of law school, which in the U.S. is a additional 3-year dedicated law program, and it's through that 3-year course of study that you get your.
So essentially, this is what you're saying, right? Through a high school until undergraduate studies is where you're exploring yourself, you're discovering yourself in that process.
Yeah.
And then for your graduate studies to have these so-called specializations now, whether that's medicine, whether it's law, whether that's architecture.
Yeah.
And this is where the divergence happens. If I compare, let's say, again, late 80s, 90s with us, over here, and unfortunately that system prevails even today, where a child as young as maybe he's in his grade 10, grade 11, he has to decide whether he wants to pursue law or medicine. Because you have to choose your stream after grade 12.
Yeah.
The system, or perhaps maybe that's just our DNA, it doesn't allow us to explore or to discover ourselves.
Yeah.
I think in time it may change or will change. I think the force of hand will happen, but it doesn't allow an Indian youth to discover, let's say, until they're 20, 21.
Yeah.
You got to make your decision as early as 13 and 14.
Yeah.
And if you choose not to, you cannot come back into that profession.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because this is our observation with our kids living in England.
Yeah.
Where the system is far closer to what you've just described.
True.
In India. And it really puts, it's a high stakes at that age. And I'm sure it can be a bit, it maybe was a bit disorienting for you. I've watched it with my 2 kids, and the pressure that comes in at 13, 14, 15.
Yeah,
So we really have to think in a somewhat serious way, where do I want my life to go?
You're absolutely. I think it's very unfair, right? Because I think at 12, 13, 14, you don't have the brain power to process where a certain field, and how exactly you want to kind of get into that kind of field, right? But that's the unfortunate truth. But the contradiction over here also, Matthew, is a lot of them choose the path of engineering or sciences or something, and after graduation, the undergraduate degree, they just abandon.
Yeah.
So now they have their degree, they have the ability to think, learn what they had learned, and they apply that in another field, and they become successful in those fields.
Yeah.
I just wish the system could literally change. And for me, it's a policy thing. That it should be multidisciplinary. You don't have to decide this early.
Yeah.
Just imagine a child who is in grade 9. Grade 9 would be 13 years old.
Yeah.
And you have to decide at that point in time, do you want to be a doctor or not?
Yeah.
At that point in time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's really challenging. And as a parenting through that is equally, if not more difficult, as you're trying to rationalize these judgments to your little ones.
It's difficult to cross a road, especially in India.
Yeah.
When you're 12,
I've been swapping this.
Yeah, seriously. And you're expecting that child to decide on its future. And it's just going on for generations.
Yeah.
For the love of God, I have never understood this.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that you put this conversation out there, you start influencing through meaningful conversations. At some stage, it will change.
Yeah.
It's just the manifestation of that. At some stage, someone will hear it, someone will experience it. Maybe some policy guy will say, okay, you know what? This cannot happen. You know? So, but moving back, so you meet your high school sweetheart, Jodi. Did you go to the same university together?
Yeah.
Did she also practice law?
No.
No.
One is enough.
What is that?
She studied international political economy. Was her focus.
And what happened after your university? You've studied law now. Take us through that, please.
Yeah, and so we we made a decision to move away from Seattle, where Jodi was born and raised, and that was effectively spent my formative years in Seattle University there. And we moved to Boston to attend Boston University.
Wow.
And yeah, the other coast.
The other coast, seriously.
You know,
Wow.
and here's, you know, we were 22, married.
Oh, you were already married at that time? Oh my God, nice.
Yeah, we graduated and then got married at 22, which again, as I have a 21-year-old daughter now, and I look across to her at the dinner table and I think, that's about the same age I was married. How is this possible?
That is a difference. and you wouldn't even allow that now.
So we had, I had a car. That was our biggest asset, which I sold and applied to a small portion of my first year of law school tuition. Jodi was gracious to get a good job in Boston and supported us for those 3 years of study, along with, you know, some student loans to make up the gap. But we were in it at that point. We had made a real commitment to see that through and to navigate what was, in hindsight, a real uncertain path as to how it all played out.
True. And what happened after your graduation in law? What happened after that?
So in American, the American system of law, what's very common is you work your way through your first year of law school, and then during your second year, you start interviewing with law firms to do effectively an internship following your second year. And maybe the better way to think of it is the internship is a 12-week job interview.
Got it. Is it more of a apprenticeship aspect? Is it an internship or an apprenticeship?
I think I'd say it's more of an internship.
More of an internship.
You're there to work and make contributions during that summer, but you can imagine someone who has only spent 2 years of in law school, their ability to really do meaningful substantive work is quite limited. True. But their exercises are given, assignments are given, a chance to meet.
And is there a specific segment of law that you were practicing at that time, or you were interested in?
So I was fortunate enough to secure one of these internships, which I'd say, and it continues to this day, these are very competitive slots, and it required some degree of, you know, performance during those first year and a half.
Or do you have a choice to decide, should I do an internship in criminal law, civil law? Do you have the choice as a student?
Yeah, so depending on the firm you join, in my case, it's Goodwin, where I am today, that I did my summer internship with, or associate role. Big firm, and by going to a big firm for that 12-week period, you do have the ability to move around and dabble, get some exposure to different areas of the law. And that turned out for me to be a terrific experience. At the end of that summer, if it's successful from the firm's perspective, they offer you a full-time job a year later after you've graduated from law school. So I was able to go into my third year of law school. The debt pile is getting bigger, but had the good fortune of knowing I had a job so long as I fulfilled my requirements that final year of studies. I would take and sit the bar and join Goodwin in the fall. And that was a really important moment for us, me individually, Jodi individually, and us as a young married couple.
And from a law perspective, like in India, you have a lawyer and an advocate, right? And there is a difference between them.
Yeah.
What's it in the US system? Do you have a similar system?
Yeah, you have lawyers or attorneys.
Correct.
But unlike, I think, the system you've described in India, or say in the UK, where you have barristers and solicitors.
Correct.
America says we're not going to make a distinction.
Okay.
A lawyer is a lawyer is a lawyer.
Sure.
Now, those individual lawyers will make decisions to whether they want to go into a a disputes or litigation practice.
And all the lawyers can defend a case or prosecute a case in a courtroom.
Yes.
Unlike in India, you have to be
Yeah.
or in London or in UK.
Exactly right. So probably one of the biggest forks in the road as a young lawyer in America is, do I want to focus on disputes or litigation?
Got it.
That arm? Or do I want to go into more of a transactional, regulatory focused practice?
Or I want to get into criminal law.
Yeah, and I put criminal law in the vein of litigation disputes.
Oh, so it comes under that.
You're fighting for people's freedom in that capacity, or prosecuting them if you're really for a prosecutor's office. But in the law firm speak, you think of disputes, litigation, or transactional, and still two very wide roads.
True.
But that's the biggest fork in the road initially.
And which road did you take?
So I took the transactional
Or you took the
route. And for me, it always, and it's still to this day, the idea that you're helping play a role of bringing something together, taking a transaction and getting to a mutually beneficial, good result and good outcome for your client, of course, but also leaving the table where everybody feels like there's something to celebrate and something that we've achieved collectively.
Interesting.
In a litigation context, it's more binary.
And winners lose. And always, most of the time, is conflict.
It's adversarial.
Yeah, it's adversarial.
It's adversarial.
Yeah.
And I suppose when you need it, you want people that are hard-coded for that. Live it, breathe it. For me,
is it personality driven? Had you been more of let's say, an aggressive personality, these personality traits perhaps go for litigation? Or am I reading it all wrong?
Yeah, some of the best litigators that I have been around are also some of the least aggressive people. They are extremely approachable, crazy smart, and find solutions in the backdrop of a dispute. So I don't think it's aggressive versus not aggressive. It's perhaps a mindset around winning and crafting arguments. It's a different approach.
Does that mindset, is it a laddering up effect that you have to go through the grind to reach where you have reached today? Is it that aspect? So when you're talking about the fact that they are calm, is it because the years of experience and going through the grind of what not to do, and perhaps knowing how cases are really won, and it's never about aggression or something, it's all about how much have I applied and how much I know of my opponent and how he does not apply.
Yeah.
And fill in that gap. Is it that?
I think there's elements to that. And I think that those elements, yes, they can be refined over the course of a career. But I see, young lawyers today, far younger than me, that are able to come at things with a level of poise and equanimity that is beyond their years. And so perhaps some of that is, hard-coded from a young age, and then it's refined and it's deepened and strengthened as you get battle tested.
So when we toggle between when you were in Boston and where you're today right now in London, and 25 years of this journey, has a lot changed? Has it evolved? Of course it has evolved. Or is it, if you look back from a lens of the 90s and the 2000s, where you were a young grad, you got into Goodwin at that point in time, you were there, to how it is today. Besides the natural evolution, has it changed for good, or has it deteriorated over time?
Yeah, I think it's matured in different ways. We see every day in the economy the role of technology, the ability to scale individuals with technology tools, to scale organizations with the way that we can engage in the working world. So there's been, when I started practicing law, email was still not entirely trusted.
So you had to send the memo through telex.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you're sending stacks of legal documents, not electronically, all the things we take for granted today. But back then, you were printing them out, putting them into a courier pouch, and shipping them off. And once you shipped them off, by the way, the noise stopped for a while because it took time to get physically those packages there.
True.
So the cadence and the pace, then to now, dramatically different. So you're able to do more quicker in a ways that's hard to measure. But breaking that down a bit, it's still a human relationship-driven business.
True.
At least from my standpoint.
From a transaction.
So the way we dress it up and the way these organizations and our firm is built, very different today than 20 years ago, but even different than 10 years ago. But at the core, we're still just acting on behalf of clients who we come to really like, respect, and think of as friends.
The preparation back then, because you had to read everything. You had to summarize everything. You had to annotate all the pages and eventually come with your summarization. That aspect, of course, has changed right now.
Yeah.
Lesser reading, lesser annotating it. Are we as thorough today as you were, let's say, 25 years back? Because you had to check and recheck every alphabet, dot all the I's, cross all the T's. Has it changed?
I hope not. I hope not. And we, in all seriousness, we try to bring the same degree of rigor around precision, thoughtfulness today as we did, I'm sure, in the generations that preceded me, and certainly as I was growing up. We try to look at how technology can support that, but technology is not replacing the need to really come into documents, come into what we do, our craft, with the same degree of daily focus and commitment. Technology helps.
Let's toggle back. Sure. From Boston, now you're in London. Yeah. Which year was that, though?
This was 2007.
2007?
2007.
And by the time you had your children as well?
I had Lauren, my older daughter, who was 3.5.
Oh.
When this is how the story kind of unfolded. The request and the ask, will you move to London, was when Lauren was 3-ish, and Emily was about 4 months. Jodi was 4 months pregnant at the time.
With Emily?
Yes.
Okay.
So the ask of Jodi at that time was, hey, once Emily is born and the doctor tells us it's okay for her to get on a long haul flight, how do you feel about moving to London? And that conversation started in 2007. And it was born out of, I think, what's been a bit of a through line, at least in my career, individuals that I had deep respect for, trust in, and were at the top of their game in terms of their craft.
And was it within your organization, within your law firm?
Yeah. So maybe rewind a little bit, a couple years prior.
And I want to understand that implicit trust that you speak about.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Right? It's very difficult for anyone to lean back and talk about it and reflect on it and say, you know what, these were the few guys who really coached, mentored, sponsored me to becoming who I am today. And that's very gracious. A lot of people don't do that, Matthew.
Yeah.
And hence I said at the very beginning, you're beautiful.
Well,
is one of the reasons.
Well, let me kind of walk you through that. So it might take a minute if that's okay.
Absolutely. The audience loves your story.
Wow.
I can tell you for a fact.
So I'm about 2 years in, having joined Goodwin after graduating from law school, living, working in Boston, taking that pile of debt and trying to eliminate it as fast as we could. And that was our goal. But after about 2 years, we'd now been away from Seattle for about 5 years. And Jodi had a loss in the family, and we started asking the bigger question: do we see ourselves here for the next X number of years? Should we think about moving back to Seattle? Long conversation. Short of it is, we decide it's time for us to move home to Seattle, and I start a job search. At that time, Goodwin did not have, and still does not have, a Seattle office, so it meant leaving the firm and moving back to Seattle, finding a role. And that led to a similar built firm at the time, another large US firm that had a sizable Seattle office, and I joined their practice in 2001. And I was doing general real estate work at that firm. Started helping a range of partners as a young lawyer, putting a lot of reps in, buying, selling commercial office buildings, apartment blocks, medical office, and hotels. And one of the main practices within that firm was the hotels practice. And it was run by a guy named Brian Smith. And Brian was a really excellent lawyer. If he walks into a room, you wouldn't think it, you wouldn't see it. But if you sat in a room and the conversation starts to unfold, it becomes pretty clear pretty quick that guy Brian knows a thing or two. And he had a bit of an aura because he was super smart, had a wonderful practice with a range of clients. And my hope was one day to get a call, to be able to be one of the associates on a deal with Brian. And that happened a few years after joining Heller. And I'll tell you this, and again, but it came at an awkward time. It was maybe a Tuesday or Wednesday. And Brian, I see his name on the phone, and I pick it up, and he says, "Matt, look, I've got this great new deal in, and I'd love you to be a part of the team. And it's starting effectively now." I had a vacation planned for the following week.
Okay.
I've been waiting kind of for this opportunity to kind of participate in one of Brian's deals. So I go back to Jodi and say, "Jodi, look, bad timing. I know we've got a holiday planned, but I want to get off to a good start with Brian. So what would you feel about me joining you and my young daughter, Lauren, at this point, drop you off with your mother-in-law to where we're going on holiday, and I'll fly back?" And Jodi, being such a great supporter, said, "I get it, no problem." So flew to come back and really get into this deal with Brian. And my mission there was a lot of things, but to make enough of an impression that there'd be another. And that led to a few more. And I was starting now to move away from, call it general real estate, and focusing more on this whole world of hotels under Brian's mentorship. Not surprised, this didn't surprise me. That same firm decided to open a London office in 2007. And Brian, being the figure he was within the firm, they asked if Brian was willing to relocate from the US and chair the London office. And he, being a great firm citizen, a terrific leader with a sizable practice, said, "Yes, I'll take up the cause." And this is when he phoned and said, "Hey, Matt, enjoying working with you. I'm moving to London. How do you feel about moving to London for about 4 months while I figure out what we can do in London, hire some people, and you can kind of do the work?" And that led to that conversation we talked about before. I go home to Jodi and said, "Jodi, now we've got an opportunity to move to London."
And that's when Jodi was with Emily Foreman's pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have this conversation, and I go back to Brian and effectively say, "We're all in. I just need to have my second kid first."
Yeah. So I'm just, trying to put this piece together, even for the audience, right? That implicit trust, that mentorship, and a lot of Indians will resonate with that. Is at least the generation that we kind of come from, is the fact that in our lives is where there was either a coach or a mentor or a sponsor or a combination of all these three. Because like law, it's a very linear system.
Yes.
Right? It's a very reporting hierarchy. Based not necessarily on your skill, of course, very important, but based on your tenure as well. Right? And that's the whole environment that we kind of grew up in. And hence, we would look up to people who were super ambitious, because what it would actually do is, when they are nursing their ambition and you are serving them well, and if they have a 3x growth, you have a 3x growth with you. You ensure that you don't fail them, and they can't do without you either.
Yeah.
And was that the overarching plan?
There's a lot of truth to what you're saying, and that was my experience. And I remember, fast forward, we end up getting on a plane. We're now in London, and it's no small commitment to take a family of 4, move them over, provide housing for us, and all of that invited.
And you've never been to London before that?
I did a semester at the London School of Economics.
And Jodi had never been there.
No.
She had no idea about.
We'd been a tourist, but we never imagined living there. But remember, it was meant to be 4 months. So we could kind of get our head around, we're not permanently leaving the US. We are just going to go have this adventure and deepen this, what I found to be a great opportunity to learn and grow from somebody at the truly top of their game, Brian. And I remember once we got our footing in London, saying to Jodi, success here is getting to the end of 4 months. We move back to the US, and Brian's view is that investment was so worth it. Matt, contributed in the way that I had hoped.
True.
So the mission was really to grow in standing with him. And that was a motivator. He's a guy that I'd run through a wall for. And that's kind of what I set out to try to do.
And 20 years later, you're still there. 17 years? How many years?
It's been 8 to 18. Because we got about 3 months in, and Brian says...
So Emily was born in the US.
Yeah.
When she was a toddler and an infant.
7 weeks.
Yeah, 7 weeks?
7 weeks old.
So does she have the British accent?
Yes.
Oh,
it's really interesting.
So how does... So you say water, and she said water? Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah?
I wish
like
I could marry her.
Inni.
Yes. And mom and not mom, and there's all these little things with both of the kids.
Both the kids?
Both the kids. A little more so Emily. And if Jodi was sitting here, she sounds a lot like me. We're both West Coast.
So garage and garage, all those things.
Right? They talk about lifts, not elevators.
Waste paper basket. Big.
So very different.
Sidewalk, pavement.
All of it. We go on and on.
That's big conflict in the house. It's a garage, garage.
Yeah, a lot of
it.
And so after about 3 months or so, our return flight was lining up. Brian says, hey, do you want to stay for a couple more years? And that was actually surprisingly an easy conversation for us.
Can I ask you a question? Is Brian, is he still living? And if he's listening to you?
He's not.
Oh, he's not?
No.
Passed?
He did. Maybe we come to that.
Okay.
It's an interesting twist to the story. For me, it was. Dramatically so. So we had this conversation, you want to stay for 2 more years? I say, sure. And we keep doing what we're doing. The global financial crisis arrives
2008.
within a few months. And this firm we're with, 100 years old, 750 lawyers dotted around the world, and it goes bust. Seriously, it goes bust.
Wow.
So 750 lawyers in the fall of 2008 are out looking for a job.
And it went bust because of...
That's probably another podcast, but I'd say it's a combination of factors, not least of which was a very nervous banking sector that took a very aggressive position with the law firm when the boat started to rock. and Heller, which is the firm called Heller Ehrman, it was experiencing a lot of partners choosing to leave. And once enough partners leave a law firm, that glue becomes unstuck. It's very fragile, more fragile than I think a lot of people give credit for, given these organizations are pretty powerful when they're functioning well. But it collapsed quickly, and very quickly.
Choose not to answer. I always also believe that when the balance sheet is weak, the cash flows, you are completely stretched.
Yeah.
That's where also the collapse happens.
Absolutely right. And what I learned in the years that followed was what appeared to be a very well-run, fiscally conservative law firm turned out not to be the case.
Yeah.
It wasn't prepared for a storm like the global financial crisis. And when the water started to rise, it busted pretty quickly, which was quite dramatic in the moment, because phenomenal stable of lawyers who could no longer practice together.
So, this really kind of big company, no names taken, and this is exactly what really happened. They were operating at a gross margin of about 50%, right?
Yeah.
Then over 15 years, a decade and a half, they were operating at a gross margin of about 30%.
Wow.
But the operating margin shrunk further.
Really?
Yeah. And eventually it was, I think, the whole mismanagement of perhaps they couldn't, when they were scaling up, they couldn't put everything kind of together.
Yeah.
And that's where the collapse really started happening. And of course, they were over leveraged.
Yeah.
And eventually, that's what they say. It's look at the cash flow.
Yeah.
And there's everything is noise.
Yeah. Because imagine, Kunal, I moved to London in 2007, right as the firm was opening in London. There's not a more expensive city in the world, or maybe there is, to open a new law firm. Yeah. They signed a 10-year lease in the spring of 2007, overlooking the steps of St. Paul's, and within a year, the whole firm collapses. Yeah. So this thing was rapid and fast.
Seriously.
Yeah. So I remember Brian comes in, and I'm sort of young family. I said, Brian, should I be nervous about where this might be going? And this was the beauty of having someone like Brian in your orbit. He said, Matt, I'm not nervous. If I'm not nervous, you shouldn't be nervous. If I get nervous, we'll have a conversation. And he was off talking to various law firms about this practice that he led. And he had team members in the US, in London, myself, and in Asia. It was a big practice. And in a funny twist of fate, the firm that emerged to bring us on was Goodwin. And Goodwin at the time had no London office.
Oh.
They had offices everywhere else.
But not in London.
But not in London. They said to Brian, and indirectly then me, we know we want to be in London as a firm.
You're already in London.
So why don't you go ahead and start a small little office for us and give us as a firm a chance to think through a larger London strategy. And Brian and I'm a big fan of this because I have great memories of my time at Goodwin in Boston. And so in the fall of 2008, Goodwin London opened its doors quite humbly, I would say, led by Brian.
Was it fate? Was it destiny? Or was it just, in a capitalistic words, something falls apart, but something comes up as well?
Well,
how do you process it?
Yeah, I look at it as a wonderful turn of events. We were doing what we did at the former firm. I could not have imagined a better result, knowing some of the people across the halls in different coordinates or different pockets of Goodwin, to be coming home, so to speak, felt really good in that moment of real disorientation.
And then you joined kind of Goodwin, and that practice,
and that's where I've been.
And Brian was with you for how long after that?
So in 2010, about 2 years later, Brian got sick.
Oh,
he was diagnosed with leukemia.
Okay.
And he battled it very bravely, and in March of 2011, passed away.
I was coming to that, Matthew. Again, if you're willing to talk about it, I'm trying to piece this together, right? You had Jodi on one side. Let's just call her your left flank, right?
Yeah.
Extremely important. And you have people like Brian and many others, but people like Brian who are your right flank.
Yes.
There was a personal side, and here was a professional side. How important Jodi continues to be, Brian was in your success? How important are these two personalities? Remove one of them out. Had you not met Brian, would you have turned out to be the man that you are today? The professional man that you're today?
It's a great question. I would say, Goodwin has two partners for the price of one. Jodi being the second partner. Her commitment to a shared mission and supporting the efforts and the work has been profound in my life. And her life goes well beyond me, I assure you, in terms of her interests and how she devotes.
For sure.
She's a multifaceted, beautiful person.
Yeah.
But I think undoubtedly 1,000%, if Jodi's not a part of this, I'm not sitting here with you today.
Interesting. True in my case as well. True in 50% of all the guests who have come on the podcast case as well. I'm just kind of wondering, right? Just go back to that inflection point. If and what they say, and I think it's in the Arabic world, they say this, is saying truly one of the most important decisions in your life is your partner. Because it changes everything. There. And it's not about camaraderie or companionship. It's not about that. It's just, I think after 15 years of marriage, it's much more than it's that inherent support system.
Yeah.
The women are, whether it's Lauren, Emily, Jodi, Harsimran, Chanel, Shanaida, I think they just cut from a very different piece of cloth. God has made them very differently. Our mothers, and as multifaceted as they are, and they have their own life, they just don't allow you to fall.
Yeah.
I know it for a fact. I've said it. I don't mind repeating myself again. In the last 20 years, I must have given up 2,000 times. Seriously.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I'm done with this. Frustration. Business, you're putting all your efforts. You're not seeing the results. Saying, I'm done. Right? And then there's just one more day. And there is this, maybe a cup of coffee together. They have some wife wisdom coming in, or maybe just a hand and say, just get the hell out of here. Just go out there. You're not the man that I know. And you just refresh yourself, come back. And 3 days later, you give up again. And the other guys will pick you up again. Was it the same?
Yeah, that's the support at so many inflection points. But while we're in this moment of what to do next, because when Brian passes, there's one person at Goodwin London at that point.
Then there was you.
And we were at the hospital when this all played out. And it was a moment, as you might imagine, saying, and processing a loss of someone who you held in the regard that I did. And I'll never forget leaving the hospital. The kids were being looked after by a family member at the time. And Jodi and I were wandering around. What next? And we gravitated to, we have each other. We're going to find our way through it. We have a lot of things that we're dealing with, profession otherwise, but enter into those people that remain at the firm to this day, because somebody had to call headquarters that night and say, the franchise is down. And you make that call, and that was to the chair of the law firm at the time, who remains a very dear friend and confidant. And she was very close with Brian. But one of the things she made very clear, very quick in that late night conversation was, the mission hasn't changed. We're as committed to London today as we were yesterday. And give us time, Matt. We'll figure it out. We're here to support you. That was powerful. Stabilizing.
I had also promised the audience, Matthew, that this is going to be some sort of a masterclass for them. I take you back. There were two segues for you, right? One was transaction and one was litigation, right? You chose transaction. 25 years, 28 years, 30 years, howsoever many years you are in this field. What is, in your opinion, if you just narrow it down to one singularity, is the most important aspect of negotiation? When you're negotiating on behalf of a client, everyone wants the best. On the other side as well of the table, they want the best of their clients, you want the best for your clients, right? But eventually for that deal to come through, what is that one thing, if you just apply it, eventually it comes through? I have my own thoughts to what I have applied, but I would love to hear your perspective, especially in Global B.
I think a big part in that context, in those moments, is certainly listening first. And through listening, whether it's to your client, first and foremost, but also to the other side of these deals and understanding what is meaningful and what their priorities are. And that helps inform and shape how you bridge perhaps commercial issues that the parties are not fully aligned on. And through that listening, through asking questions, you start to understand what the sensitivities are and perhaps how they can be addressed. But a healthy recognition that generally nobody gets everything they want.
True.
And it requires some degree of flex to find that aligned view between the parties. So I don't know if that's a singular thing, but certainly
But eventually it comes to that, right? I also kind of feel the fact that, and when you represent a client, and let's say I'm negotiating with a vendor or with someone in my sphere of influence, is the fact that if you really want it, right, just get your foot inside the door. And after that, just have conversations. Eventually, you will relent. Someone else will relent. The terms ought to be strong to protect your company. Right? Rest everything can be negotiated. But fundamentally, if you differ on the terms, right? For me, that's a no way. But assume broadly you've understood both sides. Then it's a matter of how many inches or feet you're willing to let go. That's it. So that you can reclaim it later. When the deal is done. You see? And I think for me, I wouldn't say that's the singularity kind of a thing, but the way I'm kind of thinking, my side of the business is how you would think when you're structuring a global deal as well. Is it one of the many things that you would do?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. And playing the role that I do as the lawyer, so much of it is helping to set the table for the principles that are ultimately going to live with this deal.
Right.
You know, I'm helping frame and sharpen and contextualize these issues in a way that gives them clarity and an ability to move forward with their counterparty, with their counterparties, if it's a multi-party deal.
And do you have the latitude to be flexible, or do you have to always concur with your client? Assume you're giving away a few inches.
No two clients are the same. With some clients, you truly are helping unpack, untangle, and allow them to make the judgment. Other clients will say, we want you to do all of that, but we also need your guidance on how you would calibrate all that in the judgment you would make. And so for different clients, they're expecting different things from
you. In your field, as a business person, for me, I would say my instincts are very, very strong. Sometimes it overpowers rationalization as well, right? How important is instinct when you are negotiating?
I think it plays a very important role because those instincts certainly sometimes betray you, but you can, if you act on them in a constructive, thoughtful way, you can kind of ferret out a little bit. What are the priorities here? What are maybe the obstacles that are preventing us from finding a way through a particularly complex issue? And if you're unwilling to listen to those instincts, you may not make the degree of progress at the cadence that people need you to make.
And because you do pretty much the deals all over the world, right? No two individuals are the same. No two cultures are the same. But is there a pattern that you're kind of seeing? Let's say someone from a continent, perhaps how the overall economy is, and the way people think vis-a-vis, let's say, some other country and the way they kind of think. Does that matter? Or you see fundamentally everyone is guided by the return of capital regardless from where you are or where you come from?
I think there's certainly consistencies across regions. And when you're in an arena where there's deals of impact and import, return on capital, and making sound investments is, at least in our world we swim in, pretty universal. But the way in which people take positions, think through difficult issues, and find a way to achieve that return certainly does vary, whether you're in continental Europe, different places in the Middle East, in the US. And so the through line being, yes, you want to make sound investment decisions. How you get there, there's variance.
And I'll tell you, if you further unpeel this, right? Let's say you take continental Europe, or you say, let's say you take parts of Middle East. Let's say you take India, for instance, US. I know it for a fact for an Indian business, right? The cost of capital is so high over here in India. And unless the return of capital is another 10 to 12% much more than the cost of capital, he won't even get out of his bed.
Right.
He's saying, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
But the opposite is also true over here. There are Indian businesses who really think quarter, but they build for decades. And they're really thinking long-term impact, 2040, 2045. When you look at the characteristic of, let's say, this persona who I've just described to you, and put the same persona in continental Europe or in the US or in the Middle East, is it similar? And the reason I ask you is the cost of capital is much cheaper there.
Yeah.
Right? So if you make 8-9% above your cost of capital, which is clearly the cost of capital is about 3 or 4%.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you make about 12%, and they're really kind of happy. I'm telling you, the cost of capital, the weighted average cost of capital over here is 14%.
It's a lot.
Right? And you throw in your inflation and everything.
Yeah.
So an Indian businessman, as I said, won't even move out of his bed unless it's not 23, 24%. And that's, and then to kind of grow the business accordingly. So it's firstly, it's not an apple to apple environment, right? But as I said, when you put the persona there, are they thinking on similar terms? Okay, are they building for long term? Is everything, how would my city, how would every aspect look in 2040, 2050? Or is it, you know what, as long as I make $1 billion from this deal, I don't care?
You know,
is it different?
I think in every market, there's a spectrum of investor expectations, capital expectations. You have some that have a time horizon of 3 to 5 years, and they themselves have a set of investors that have entrusted them with their money.
Especially private equity is it?
Yeah, so you use private equity as an example. If they have a time horizon of 3, 5, maybe 7 years, there's an expectation of a return that will vary depending on what the purpose of that pool of capital is.
True.
So it's not the case that all of those investors in that category have the same internal rate of return expectations. They will vary depending on what the purpose of that capital is. And in those same markets, you have legacy, long-term, buy and hold investment strategies that require and demand a different set of expectations from a.
But those are definitely not the private equity capital, because
Definitely not the private equity.
because that's finite, as you rightly said.
Yeah.
8 years on the outer limit, they want to give those returns back to their LP.
Yeah, and they have to. And there's the pressures that invites. So their expectations around deploying that capital and putting it to work, so to speak, to either reposition, to optimize, and then recycle that capital, a lot of pressure. Very different than the, say, ultra high net worth individual or family office
fund or family offices
that isn't thinking about exit. They're thinking about legacy. And that's a very different investment mindset.
Would you say a certain region gets it right and certain region are still learning from how it needs to happen? I'll give you an example. Let's say you take the Indian, there is liquidity here today in India. I won't say as much as in the US, right? But there is enough liquidity. And largely also both from venture and private, you also have family offices. Maybe their first generation, second generation are into the family offices. But when you compare it with the US has been doing, the family offices are in existence for the last 20, 30 years. So they are learning behind that.
Yeah.
Right? Indians will get there maybe in the next 5, 7 years.
Yeah.
Maybe the learning period may shrink because you have a playbook already. But do you see some regions getting this right in terms of long-term investments vis-a-vis certain regions which are still going through their learning curve?
Yeah, I would say yes, there's variance, but perhaps not as dramatic as one might think.
Got it.
But when we're looking at projects, say, in different countries in the Middle East, whether that be Saudi, the UAE, Qatar, the investment sentiment seems to gravitate more towards long-term buy and hold. What you're associating with certain flavors of private equity, at least in the real estate / hospitality space, I see it much more towards long-term buy-hold strategies.
So are there fewer private equities, let's say in Saudi?
Yeah.
And then buy up sovereign funds or pension funds coming in there?
Yeah, or family offices that have a buy and hold strategy, or quasi-government organizations that have a buy and hold strategy. But what you might associate with institutionalized private equity that you see in various jurisdictions, not as pronounced, at least in my experience, in places like Saudi or the UAE.
Got it.
That's changing, by the way. But
you would have played out a playbook right now in terms of, and especially when you are advising your clients, right? Hey, I've got like 25 years of experience behind me. I understand the vision. This is the play we ought to play out in front of them. Do asset owners, because it's their money, I would say, still want their way through, or are they willing to listen?
to listen.
Yeah, are they willing to listen to, let's say, law firms like you are saying, hey, let me advise you, Kunal, that's a really bad thing. We've done this deal, no names taken 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It just doesn't happen the way you're kind of thinking.
Yeah.
I would say, don't do this. And he says, my money, I know what I need to do and I can't do.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, that's your funeral, but we'll still go ahead with it. Do you still encounter such situations?
I'd say our clients come to us to help inform their commercial judgments. And if there is experiences, terms that we can share with them to help frame those judgments, we certainly do that. But we are not supplanting or taking those decisions for them.
Got it. Would you mind talking to us about Again, no client names, no nothing. Pretty much, how does the deal pan out? How long does it even kind of take? The complexities involved, because each country has its own web of complexities.
Yeah.
How long does a deal really take from, let's say, when the client engages you till it kind of gets over and you sign and maybe you raise a toast?
So why don't we talk about, well, it's a good question because there's a lot of variance, but let's focus on a particular type of deal.
Okay.
Where we do a lot of work in.
Okay.
And let's talk about, say, a new luxury hospitality project that includes a hotel, maybe includes some residential and adjacent operating business, maybe a golf course and a marina, what have you.
Beautiful. And in your term, do you call this a mixed-use development?
Yeah, mixed-use development.
Okay.
So let's talk about a mixed-use development.
Yeah.
And we're there's a developer that has this idea.
And there is a 20-year-old now listening to you, and if you could just decode that for a 20-year-old, for Lauren.
So a developer has this idea. They've been able to secure a big plot of land near a sea, and they're going to develop this multi-component. And they know they want to have it identified with a leading, say, luxury operator, a brand. From that idea to a signed set of contracts between those two key stakeholders, aggressively could be a period of months, more likely beyond a year, maybe two. And can I kind of unpack that?
I think you need to, because the 20-year-old, look at it from this perspective. If someone is listening to you and you say, you know what, I love to get into this side of transaction law.
Yeah.
Right? And how do we excite them with this knowledge?
Yeah. So at that point, my phone might ring from that developer. It says, this is my vision. So we would set out on a journey to evaluate the project along with some other advisors about who might be the right fit to choose as an operating partner.
Okay.
And they will choose about 3 or 4. And they'll have some early discussions to see if there's alignment between this developer's vision and what it might translate to in terms of a built product. And eventually they'll choose one to negotiate some kind of a term sheet or memorandum of understanding.
True, but the term sheets have 2 components. One is the entire financial part of it and due diligence part of it, or 3.
Yeah.
And of course, the legal part of it. Where does Goodwin fit in into these 3?
Yes. So due diligence at the property level, that's going to be for the developer to sort out from a feasibility standpoint. What can be done here?
He may choose a consultant to do
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Then once you get into the term sheet and you're starting to talk about how much am I going to have to pay this operator over what period of time, and you start talking about the actual commercial terms of the transaction, we will be involved in that. And you will help negotiate out through a set of terms, a term sheet.
On behalf of the developer with the operator, who would have maybe another law firm talk to you about it.
And at least within our team, we could play either of those roles. But in this hypothetical project, we're acting for the developer. And so you're able to sign that term sheet that broadly gives you the contours of a commercial deal.
And after the term sheet, the actual due diligence also starts right now. It's where you have your condition precedents. Once you fulfill that, then the deal is actually over. Am I right?
So then you go from term sheet to definitive documents that will really bind those parties together.
Pretty much. And that itself is long drawn conversations, discussion, debates into months.
That can take some time.
Yeah.
The first bit that you're trying to control for is what you're going to design and what you're going to build. And those parties, say the developer and the brand, try to come together to really put some structures around that deal.
You know, it's amazing. And again, you need to unpeel this for me. And I've asked this question to a lot of people. I'm still not convinced about it, right? So you have the developer who wants to develop this mixed use, let's say golf course,
Yeah.
ultra luxury,
Yeah.
something else. And he's looking at cost of capital. He's looking at return on investments. Upside is his, downside is only his, right? And then here is an operator who essentially is there with you with your upside and will bail out no matter how the definitive agreements are. Am I right? And then,
When you say bail out, what do you mean?
for whatever reason, let's call a fictitious place, Fiji Islands, and you have a developer there who's made this, and they have this really luxurious operator who comes there, and he expected that particular island to really flourish,
Yeah.
either through incoming traffic,
Yeah.
right, of world travelers coming in, and that didn't happen. So he's stuck with a super luxury resort. His money is kind of sunk him.
Yeah.
The other guys are saying, you know what, you're not making money, we're not making anything, no royalty out of it. People are not kind of coming in. This is not the margins we were looking, right? I think let's go back into the agreement. Can we just come out of this agreement? Maybe we signed for 20 years, but can we come out in 5 years?
There's nothing stopping either party from trying to short circuit that arrangement, whether it's 20, 40, 60 and beyond years. But in terms of the commitment that those documents stand for, the commitment from that operator remains. As long as the owner is fulfilling its role under those contracts, the operator cannot unilaterally eject out.
And you haven't seen this pan out. And I ask you a question, no names, right? Especially during COVID.
Yeah.
He was stuck with his assets. The operator perhaps was just an operator.
Yeah.
Maybe he had enough cash in his balances, pull down people, because at the end of the day, when you're just an operator, the manpower is on the developer's payroll. So all the liability is the developer. You're just taking your royalty, operating on his behalf, his cash flow. Every aspect is his. So the entire liability is his. That's what I said. The upside and the down. If there is an upside, there is a significant upside. But if there is a downside, you're literally bankrupt. But for the operator, it's a little smoother ride. You have your skin in the game as your brand.
Yeah.
What is still not your money?
Yeah, there's very different risk factors for those two parties. I do not disagree with you at all. What I would say, COVID was instructive on so many fronts. In the world that I observed, in the operators that I was around during that period, both working with and advising owners opposite of, I saw a tremendous amount of humanity. I saw a tremendous amount of flexibility within the confines of what an operator can do. Providing a degree of relief, providing a level of support. Did everybody get it exactly right during COVID? No.
Actually, nobody knew how to handle it. But what you're saying, have I understood this correctly? And did you see this pan out globally, where the operators and the developers came together and there was some element of, I would say, agreement on how we should jointly handle this tsunami?
Far more. I saw it far more that way than the opposite.
Oh, beautiful. And across geographies?
Across Europe, Middle East, Africa, into the Americas. And what I'll say, and what wasn't known at that time, there's a lot of people saying the industry is done. Put a stake in it, it's not coming back. But we know now, we have some history with operating performance coming out of COVID, and it roared back. It roared back in a phenomenal way in a lot of parts of the world. And what it did, I think, is it took those relationships that were tested severely through COVID, it bound them stronger. And now I'm seeing, and it brings me a lot of professional satisfaction, of those parties that were in the trenches together, finding their way through, are now onto their second, third post-COVID project together. And those relationships have expanded. And I think in part because the trust has deepened. And there's a level of collaboration that is really exciting to see.
And these are global brands we're kind of talking about.
So, like I say, 100%? No. But far more stories like that than the other.
When you look at outside in, right? Have you done deals for Indian developers and brands as well? Has Goodwin done it?
Yeah.
I hate to compare, but assume if I had to kind of compare, are we as gracious as perhaps what you saw global operators out there? I'm talking about the same brands over here in India, between the developers and the global brands.
I would say there's definitely a flavor of that. I was working on a project in Europe on behalf of a ultra high net worth Indian individual, and watching him directly and through the team that he had assembled for this project. Very impressive group. They were very committed to the organization they were doing this deal with. They found their way through it in the depths of COVID. This hotel that I'm talking about now just opened a few months ago to great fanfare, and it's a real success story. Early days, but a success story.
This is very interesting period, Matthew. And let's switch a little bit conversations from capital and contract, to the fact that we briefly discussed this yesterday. India is an ascending economy, right? We are at about 3,000 per capita. More importantly, $4 trillion economy, give or take. But the next 10 years, right up till 47, India has a very definitive path. In Hindi, our Prime Minister has mentioned it often and time and again that it needs to be, it's called Viksit Bharat. Means pretty much we are independent, we are integrated into that one world, and we are self-sufficient. That's essentially what Viksit Bharat means. You've been to India about 10 years ago, about a decade ago, right? And a lot has changed. Talk to me about the conversations about India globally. And 2 days ago, when you came into India, okay, and you're seeing it for yourself, what are the changes that you're seeing at a conversation level globally and when you're here?
In terms of conversations that I'm hearing from clients and others, India is a priority market. There's a number of markets that people want to find their way into. And we saw that some years ago, but I think it's picking up in terms of conviction level. And you're in a better position, far better position to tell me the why behind that. But it seems that the infrastructure that's emerging in the country is improved vastly in the last 10 years. We often talk in different markets about the value of airlift to different destinations and the strength of those air connections, both domestically and internationally. And I suspect, and maybe you have good data on this, but airlift in and out of India and around India is improving.
Absolutely. When you look at perhaps the aviation aspect as a country, I think we, after China and the US, we are the third largest today, both volume, scale, number of planes. I believe we will toggle between 2 and 3 in the next 10 years. There are about 1,000 aircrafts which are on order. I believe the assembly line, both at the Airbus as well as the Boeing, for the next 10 years, a particular aircraft type is completely dominated by Indian orders. So that's a very good thing. I think whatever you see in India, from the fact that we go from 3,000 per capita to 10,000, every element, every segment of India would change. There is one pretty much economic saying in India that every $1 trillion that India adds to its GDP, 100 million people climb up from wherever they are to the next. And just imagine when you go from 4 to 10, and it's not 6x times, it's not 4 to 10. It's literally you have doubled and quadrupled after that. And let's not forget that power of compounding, which really happens. Number 2, Indians as a race, we are heavily invested in education. No matter who you are, education, and this is largely a very Asian culture. We are very deep rooted in education. And in fact, I just wrote an article about the fact that why Indians don't like to take a gap year. because they want to see the continuity. They believe that the gap year would mean a gap in their knowledge as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they don't take much gap year. Maybe the newer generation, there are always exceptions. They're willing to explore, discover.
Yep.
But 99.9% you'll find a very smooth flow. In fact, you raise an eyebrow if you do take a kind of gap year, no problem. Right? Are you okay from that perspective?
People are in a hurry.
Yeah. And rightfully so.
Yes.
I think because of the scarcity, 70s, 80s, 90s. Since 2014 specifically, of course, I would say since 2002, to be very precise, but since 2014, it's pretty much like this, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s of the US, post-war, during the Cold War and post-Cold War. There is this element of confidence within the Indians.
Yeah.
It's fair that we don't have the kind of money that we need right now, but we had the ability to get there. Pretty much what China did about 20, 25 years ago. And it's that collective strength of 1.5 billion people at various levels. So you could say roughly 200 million are farmers, but that grit and perseverance to take farming, output, yield, every aspect in a much better way.
Yeah.
Apply the same thing on the tech side, apply the same thing on the manufacturing side.
Yeah.
I think this whole collective energy that somehow, and again, it's silent. You can just feel it.
Yeah.
You could feel it in my voice.
Yeah.
It's with every Indian, right?
Yeah.
Is it that inherent belief that we will get there?
And I say great things can come from that mindset. And with a population of 1.4 billion, that starts percolating through, and pretty soon you're having needle moving events.
I was just wondering, in global conversations, again, I come back to that point. I remember 20 years ago, and pretty much, CNBCs in the US and CNN, and everyone would say, hey, you want to earn money? You learn Mandarin. Because that's China, right? For you, and for the large part, true.
Yeah.
I think that narrative would be the next 2 decades and 3 decades. If you don't look at India, and if you don't learn Hindi,
beware.
Because money chases where there is exponential growth.
Yeah.
Continental Europe, in my opinion, is a mature market, but it's not growing at the pace where emerging ascending economies.
Yeah, I mean, conservative growth, we're talking 6-7% GDP growth a year. That's the envy of most of the world right now. And with the geopolitical tectonic shifts we've all been living for the last several years, India is in a real position of strength.
Not isolated, I would say, from the world yet, but sufficiently because our banking system is so strong. So even when the GFC happened in 2008 and the other meltdown which kind of happened, of course, the banking system all around the world, because US is the reserve dollar, right? The dollar is the reserve currency. But I think the banking system over here was very resilient. We are not over leveraged from that perspective. Maybe we don't have that kind of liquidity, and we are playing it for the next 100 years. Not playing it, let's say, for the next 10 years or 20 years. So from that perspective, I think for sure that we are in a better place than most countries, I would say, to handle crisis. Number two, very importantly, I'll tell you where the biggest difference also lies, is now you take the uncertain environment, and by the time this episode is out, hopefully it's over, but assume it's not over, and because of this whole tariffs kind of thing, countries like India specifically, we can shut down. We can put our expenses down. We are used to it. Right? So if you find the tariffs are too high, we will go down. We say, okay, we can't afford it today, right? Let me compromise on my life. And we've done it all the time. Centuries. US is not ready for it.
No. No, the path forward around this current climate we're navigating is very.
The U.S. citizens are not ready for a shutdown or slow growth.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not used to it. That generation has never been used.
Yeah.
Continental Europe is not used to it.
Yeah.
But you ask China, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because we came from scarcity. So we are rooted back into that. No problem. Hey, you know what? If I don't have like 5 pair of jeans and if I don't want to drive a fancy car, I'm absolutely fine with it. I'll defer my decision by 2 years.
Yeah.
But what we won't compromise ever is on education. We will borrow.
Yeah.
We will leverage ourselves. Or in fact, over leverage. Because that's where Indians viscerally believe that the miracle of tomorrow is in educating ourselves today.
Okay.
And that's what the whole aspect is.
Yeah. Which I think can fill you with great optimism about the road ahead in India.
Let's toggle between contracts.
Sure.
When did you start running? I'm going to get to this because this is amazing. And I want you to explain what you've just kind of done and what you do. Although in the preface, again, I have mentioned it, but your age, the way you kind of look, right? It's, of course, thanks, Jodi, for making him look good, and you're running.
You're very kind.
Yeah.
I'm probably blushing.
Yeah.
Look, I started running during law school as a way to sort of, I had become quite sedentary in those study years, and running became a way to sort of reclaim my general health.
Is it therapeutic for you?
It's become extremely therapeutic. Early days, it was about returning to a more fit state. And so the first year or so was truly just to reset my body in a way that I had kind of neglected it for a period of years in the name of other things. But once I started to get into it, it started giving back a lot. And I just sort of developed a real passion for it. So coming out of resetting the health a bit, it then became for a period of time a performative thing. We talked earlier about competition, and I started registering for some races and testing what I actually might be able to do, whether it be a 5K up to a marathon. And this, what I'll call, I think a hobby is probably an understatement. It's become a bit of a passion. And so over the years,
It just requires everyday discipline. You can't just run a marathon, and especially the 6 marathons that you've done all over the world. You need to run 5 to 10K every day under all adverse conditions for you to run on that particular day.
yeah, you definitely encounter during those training cycles, different weather, you have different purposes behind each run, but it became and remains this exploration about capability and what can one endure.
I run, and I've been running for the last 30, 35 years. I'm not as fit as you, but I say I run. I can run, and I find it extremely therapeutic. I don't know about you. Sometimes I find answers when I'm running. So I'll often tell her, Sundram, my wife, that I'm just going for a 5-7K run. Sometimes on the treadmill, sometimes, of course, where I run. And usually I find a lot of clarity in that 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I just find a lot of clarity.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, as you think about our daily lives now, there's sort of an always-on culture.
True.
Whether that be work, personal, the phone, the devices, it's coming at you constantly. Running is it. I don't want to call it an escape, but it's an avenue to turn the volume down, to open the mind a bit, to process. So I've been at this now for a number of years. I'd say it's far less of a physical endeavor for me day in and day out, and much more of a mental clarity process and a chance just to reset.
But does it, for me, it's taken a little toll on my knees right now. I don't know why, right? Maybe some deficiency here and there. Are you fully physically fit to do another, like a half marathon? You have all your body parts working? And and coherently, I would say.
Yeah, and so there's, I mean, the last big adventure was in the Alps over the summer, and that has kind of, what I'll say, whetted my appetite to explore this idea of endurance a bit further. For the time being, the body's communicating it's happy with this, and so everything's ticking over, which is great. And there's, you sort of try to tune into these things and listen to the body. If there's a niggle here, you address it there, and it's.
How has running helped in your work? Of course, the discipline, I always say, is the fact that you're disciplined enough to sleep by, let's say, 9:30 at night. Assuming you don't have late night client meetings or you're raising a toast, because you need to wake up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning every day. And you've been now for the last 220 days?
Started playing with this running.
220 days continuous?
Close. I'm not there yet.
So 205,
I'm not there.
210?
I think today was 210.
210? Absolutely continuously?
Continuously.
Yeah.
COVID in there. But it's been an interesting exploration of consistency and discipline, and realizing, actually, you talk about continuous learning. I thought for 20 plus years, you had to have at least one rest day in order to keep everything ticking over. This streak has proven that not to be the case.
And are you a morning runner?
Yeah, generally I'm a morning runner. I've had some, because life is what it is, you have to get creative at times, but if it's in my control, I do it first thing.
You do it in the morning.
I do it
that means you need to sleep early for sure.
Yeah.
You need to pack in your 7 hours of sleep.
You try to.
Yeah.
You try to. But no, it's been a great source of learning and for sure processing the challenges that life brings people in the modern world.
Matthew, tell me, do you give up often times today, or you are mentally resilient right now, that this too shall pass? I'm trying to, there is conflict in my head about me. There are some bad days. I've just about put every aspect of my DNA into some kind of a deal. It doesn't happen. And like in my head, I don't know what else to do. And you go into your own universe, because your mind is your universe, and you go inward, and obviously Hudson then picks me up. Does it happen even now for you at this stage?
Yeah, I think the older you get, the more you do take stock of call it the sandbox that you're choosing to play in. And in this season of my life, it's a sandbox that has a pretty high degree of demands. Most of it is, if not all of it, is by choice. And so you are evaluating, is this still the right sandbox? And what I would say to you as I sit here today is absolutely yes. And that the challenge and the joy, I dare say, of being in a sandbox surrounded by people that you think you can learn from and be challenged by, somehow I find great fulfillment. And I think the running kind of is intertwined in that. The day will come where the knees no longer. But in preparing for that moment, I want to have the confidence or the assurance that while they were good, I got everything out of them.
You know what I have done to switch?
Tell me.
Spin cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
No impact.
No impact.
You can just go.
Absolutely.
So you adapt, right?
And especially because over here in India, you don't have the Peloton bike, have the Indian bikes. But the Peloton has some amazing apps. You can actually connect with spin cyclists all over the world in real time.
Super.
And you're competing.
Super.
And last Sunday, I did one race, and this is the Indian audience. A particular app that I kind of use. And it's not live, but you get the scoreboard of people who have done the course prior to you. I think it was about 140 riders. And I think I was like 7th or 8th.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
Beautiful.
That's top 5%.
I love it.
Yeah.
I went to Chanel and Shania, my daughters, and I said, I kicked everyone there. And I really don't know what their age is.
Yeah.
But at 53, I kicked everyone.
Good for you. Good for you. But the idea of putting yourself in moments of consequence and rising to meet the moment, there's something to be said for that.
So right.
There's something to be said for that.
When you turn 50, Was it just an age and a number for you, or are you processing life differently? And the reason I ask you this question is, I think there is 3 phases to every man's life, right? Or woman's for that matter. The first 25 years goes into educating ourselves. Then we build who we are.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get cooked
Yeah.
between 50 to whatever our end path is.
Yeah.
When you're processing now, the third quarter of your life, how do you process it?
Not a whole lot different, if I'm perfectly candid, than I did 10 years ago. It's not to say when I turned 50, certainly it's a period of reflection. And I think generally as I've gotten older, you're sort of trying to connect dots in a more intentional way about your life, about the past, about the future. But in the main, there's these fundamentals of feeling like you're where you need to be at this time. And the day-to-day is exciting. It's not without its challenges, don't get me wrong, but it's exactly where I want to be. And I'm not yet at the point where I'm questioning, is this the right chapter to continue forward on?
If I have to just ask you 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and let's say Goodwin is all over for you, do you have a plan B? You've done this maybe by that time about for 40 years, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you're never in a switch off mode.
Yeah.
To be very honest, right?
Yeah.
You may say, I have got a weekend off, but there is some deal, some structure, some business. It's just playing on and on in your mind. And one day you wake up and you say, you know what? I have retired from this. You know, I may have other interests and passion, but something that consumed you for 40 years. Your running will be with you, Jodi will be with you, the kids will be with you. But your work also defined who you are and who you've become.
Yeah.
Do you process that? What would that morning look like?
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Okay.
Maybe I should. But I still feel like that's still pretty far out into the future.
You don't want to think that far up.
Whether it's 10 or 15 years from now, it feels still a bit in the distance.
Got it.
But what I will say is the choices I think we're making as a collective, as a family, and me individually, is preserving your plan B or your optionality. So for the time being, keep on keeping on. And eventually, I suppose the mind will take me to plan B or plan C or plan D, but I'm just not quite there yet.
And let's talk about Lauren and them.
Yeah.
What are they doing now?
Yeah. So Lauren is 21. She's at university studying law.
Oh, see, is she? Okay. I hope litigation.
Yeah, we'll see, right?
Okay.
Because when she brought that to me at a young age, I said, look, let's talk about studying law, but practicing law, we'll say that for another day.
Okay.
So right now she's in her course.
And she's in a UK university?
Yeah, she's at Exeter University. And,
Oh, she's in Exeter?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, having a good experience. And her sister Emily is in what they call lower sixth in England.
Okay. Yeah.
So turning the corner towards university.
Okay.
And unlike her older sister, is very focused on film studies.
Oh.
And it's been super exciting to see this passion grow in her.
I believe there is a school at Leicester, under the Leicester University. I'm not too sure. And that apparently is a very, very good school for filmmaking.
It's on my list.
Okay.
And the reason it's on my list is Emily, unlike her older sister, really sees herself doing film studies in the US. And we're very supportive of that, but feel like it's appropriate that she explores both paths, and we'll see which one reveals itself.
Was it difficult? Again, and this is a cultural kind of question I'm kind of asking you. Our student is processing Chanel moving after Great Trail into university. And one never knows, maybe she'll go to Singapore, she'll be in the UK, or she may be in India. But the fact that she's going to leave the house for the first time, how did you and Jodi process that when Lauren left?
I tell you, it was a big moment.
Was it?
The moment we dropped her off at Exeter was a big one, but those early weeks of the house
Just being without her.
required us both to recalibrate. And I tell you, the person who probably reacted strongest was Emily, because I think we put our energy onto Emily.
So right.
And Emily was like, hey, mom and dad, sort of back off.
Yeah.
And you realize having her older sister around shielded a little bit, and like feeling a full force.
And regardless of fact, sisters, that sisterhood is crazy bond.
Yeah. And what's been neat to see, though, that bond has strengthened since Lauren, because, as you probably see with your kids, the communication norms via snapping and TikTok, it's very different. And they are in constant communication with each other. And so when Lauren's home, you feel that deeper connection between them. And that's been beautiful to see.
And do you believe one day, again, you have not thought about way into the future, you would go back to Seattle?
I'd say it's very unlikely.
Oh, very unlikely.
When we do gaze out about where we might be living, our eyes move a bit east, maybe onto the continent, something like this.
Got it.
Never know. Never say never.
Firstly, yeah.
If I ever learned anything, it's never say never.
A very good friend of mine, I asked him this question a few years ago, and I think he gave me the most beautiful response. And that kind of became my own mantra. And he said, wherever my kids are, I'll be closer to them. So if they are in Europe, I will be not necessarily in the same country, but I'll be closer to them. Right? And I thought that was beautiful. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to imbibe that myself.
Yeah. I like you, I am really excited to see where the journey of life takes our girls.
True. You know what they say? We are defined by our women.
Yes.
In your case, Jodi.
Yes.
Lauren and Emily. In my case, of course, Harsu and Chanel and Shanaira. I'm going to put you in a spotlight right now. One clause, you'd ban from all hotel contracts if you could.
Yeah. Brand standards.
Wow.
Change it to shared vision. And I could take that a lot of ways, but let's leave it at that for now.
So we have the industry coming and chatting with you tomorrow. Let's take this question.
Let's recast what that means in a way that people can stay aligned for a long period of time and not think of brand standards as a stick.
Let me flip the coin. If you were a developer, developing, right? What would your hotel look like?
That's a great question. It would be a very active place. It would provide outlets for people to explore their passions, however those present themselves. Knowing a little bit now about my enjoyment of endurance, it's probably going to be in the mountains somewhere, and it's going to provide a natural backdrop for people to explore.
Like a sports resort kind of a place.
I think it's going to be less engineered and more natural.
Oh, beautiful. Love it. I'm going to be your first guest. Absolutely love it. And we should do a run together.
Fantastic.
Right? What's one luxury you allow yourself when you're not negotiating deals across time zones?
I love a great long dinner with both my family and just exploring new cuisines.
Oh, you do that? Yeah. Is there any favorite top 3 in terms of cuisines?
Yeah, we really love Latin American food.
Oh, you do?
We love what I'll loosely call Pan-Asian food, fresh seafood. Those are 2 that we really sort of gravitate towards.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm going to take you to some interesting place tonight.
I look forward to it.
Crazy.
I look forward to it.
When you are in boardrooms and power rooms, right? What have the last 30 years taught you about power?
Use it wisely. Might does not make right.
And do you often see its power being transient?
And I would say beyond mightness does not make right. I think power expressed through logic and reasoning is the direction of travel.
The Lauren and Emily's of India, they're kind of listening to you. What would you like to tell them as a father?
Dream big. Do not accept a ceiling. In fact, break it. And follow those passions. And don't accept obstacles as setbacks. accept them as opportunities,
Hmm.
and keep driving forward.
In your vocabulary, is there anything called failure?
I believe in challenges, and the response to that challenge could be a failure. But so long as the response to that challenge is finding a way through it, then whatever challenge emerged is not a failure.
Matthew, may God bless you with, may you ripen till you're 100. But when you're 100 and when you're passing this world and someone had to speak at your eulogy, what do you think they would say?
I'll let others make that determination. I hope they saw in someone that they could rely on, that they could trust, and that provide a degree of candor and honesty in their dealings.
I know you now for 3 months. And if I had to say it at that point in time, I said, that's Matthew Pohlman, Emily, Lauren's father, Jodi's husband, and a true father's son. What do you think?
That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah. I hope our audiences got to know the real you. And the reason specifically I spoke about power is the fact that, as much as you said, use it wisely, power is also transient. The fact that you have used power to consolidate inwards and give and exude this positive energy outwards. I started by saying you are a beautiful man. I conclude by saying you're a most beautiful man.
Wow. It's very kind of you, Kunal.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Matthew.
The privilege is mine.
Now, seriously, it's an absolute honor. And for the Indian audiences, somewhere I knew that this conversation would steer towards that is, again, in the last 3 months, those email exchanges and the conversation we had on Teams and in the last 2 days, what I have been having with Matthew, there is an Indian couplet which I am going to tell the Indian audiences, which will describe you. But for the international audiences, I will translate it as well. Manzil milegi bhatak kar hi sahi. Manzil milegi bhatak kar hi sahi. Gumrah to wo hai jo ghar se nikalte hi. It incidentally means for the international audiences, the destination will be found. Even if it means through trials, tribulations, and a lot of detours, but the destination will be found. The lost ones are those who never stepped out of the house. You did, Matthew Pohlman, and God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure.